And welcome back. Here's one question that's come up a lot where we start talking about the order of operations and the different acronyms like PEMDAS and BODMAS. BODMAS is one that's used typically in the UK. There's some other places I believe that it's used. But one of the things that keeps coming up all the time is that people will argue, mostly people from the UK, because this is related to them, but they'll say, well, I was never taught the order of operations because BODMAS was not introduced into the national curriculum in the UK until 1988. And I did a lot of research. I've got some previous videos that I've done over the last year or more about this topic. And where they're pulling that from is they're doing a Google search that leads back to a Quora post, Quora, Quora, and where somebody just randomly made that statement. So this isn't like a statement of fact by any kind of reputable source. This is just some random person on the internet that made this claim that it wasn't introduced until 1988. And so therefore, the order of operations didn't exist in the UK before 1988. And they make that claim even though the origins of the order of operations goes back to Europe, all the way back to the 16th century in some of the early books on algebra. So it's kind of nonsense, but I thought, well, let's go ask ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT has to say about it. And I haven't looked at the answer on this, so I'm kind of curious what they're going to say, if they're going to refer to that post or what's going to happen. So let's go ahead and hit enter. Oh, it says no. BODMAS, brackets, orders, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, was not first introduced to the national curriculum in the UK in 1988. The concept of BODMAS or similar rules for the order of operations has been part of mathematics education for much longer, though it was formalized and widely promoted in various curricula over time. The national curriculum in England, which was introduced in 1988, outlines subjects and educational goals, including mathematics. But BODMAS itself, as a rule of order in arithmetic operations, has been a standard part of teaching mathematics for many years before then. The 1988 national curriculum did emphasize understanding number operations, but it did not necessarily introduce the BODMAS rule. In the same way, it might have been later formalized in textbooks or standard teaching practices. In summary, BODMAS was not a new concept introduced in 1988 with the national curriculum, but rather part of long-standing mathematical principles. The 1988 curriculum, however, did include more structured guidelines for teaching mathematics. So there you go. Very good description. I like that, actually. That's actually a very, very good description from ChatGPT. And again, I was able to track that down to a Quora post because whenever I bring this subject up about BODMAS or the order of operations, I'll always have one or two people that will send me a Google screenshot. They'll send me a Google screenshot and they'll say, oh, it wasn't until 1988 and I went to school in the 70s, so there you go. That's why I don't know anything about the order of operations. So completely bogus. I've got another video, a couple videos that actually refer to that Quora post, and I go into more detail about it. But I'm just kind of trying to show some of the use of ChatGPT in looking things up. It's not a substitute for an education, not a substitute for actual mathematics textbooks or formal instruction, but you can pick up a lot of information. And I wish maybe some people would learn how to utilize it a little bit more, and perhaps it would do away with some of the crazy stuff that keeps getting floated around on the internet. But there you go. Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. That really helps me out. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.